We have a range of products from silicone to anaerobic to even our gasket dressing product. But before we talk about the differences in what we have to offer, why would we use a liquid gasket over a traditional gasket like a cork compression gasket or an O-ring or any other type of gasketing material? When you zoom in onto a surface, even if it looks smooth, in reality, there are microscopic peaks and valleys in that surface that could potentially lead to leak paths. When you have a compression gasket, such as this cork gasket, you might not be able to seal all the way through to fill in those peaks and valleys. However, a liquid gasket allows for much more flexibility, and you can get that to flow into different places. Even when you have microscopic movements, a flexible gasket, such as a silicone, can absorb some of those movements due to thermal expansion or vibration over time, which also makes the liquid gasket superior to the compression gasket. Also related to thermal expansion, when you have a deformed flange, such as this example here, you can see we have an empty space where the compression gasket is not forming a seal. Had this been filled in with a more flexible liquid gasket, we would still have a good seal on this gasket. Moving to talk about the different types and where we'd want to use them. We have silicone gaskets, and we have anaerobic gaskets, as well as our gasket dressing stick here. The silicone gaskets are perfect when you have stamped parts. This can be a valve cover, an oil pan, side covers, or any part that is made in a stamping process. And the reason for that is stamped parts usually have some amount of imperfection in terms of the flatness side to side. Because silicones are flexible and they fill gaps easily, this allows them to compensate for any imperfection in the manufacturing process of these parts. However, for a more machined flange, such as this flange right here, or an example is these edges over here, you might want to use an anaerobic gasket. The trade-off is this gasket does not fill gaps as well as the silicone does. However, for a very machined flat surface, it performs much better and provides a high level of sealing. A lot of cases, when people buy parts, their parts will come with gaskets included in the kit, and sometimes they don't want to throw these away. In order to increase the performance of these gaskets, our high-tack gasket dressing stick can be applied to both sides of the gasket as well as the surfaces in order to reinforce the sealing power of existing gaskets. When you experience a failure of a valve cover gasket, this is a perfect opportunity to use a LOCTITE silicone gasket product, such as 598 or 5699, to replace that gasket. We want to use the silicone chemistry rather than the anaerobic chemistry because this is a stamped part, meaning there could be some variability in the height and the surface profile of this part. A silicone product ensures that all those voids are filled and you have the maximum seal against oil leaking from this valve cover.